We are back on Get Up with Sneaky Hembo time. Who was the only quarterback in Ravens history to make the Pro Bowl? Guys.
Can I go with 2 or 1? Take one, right?
One.
Steve McNair.
I'm going Elvis Gerback.
I don't know why you did it that way. The answer was Vinny Testaverde.
I knew it. I kept saying that.
What? He said it.
I said it. And I shouldn't have listened to you, Rob. I shouldn't have listened to you.
Now, of course, a receiver blaming someone else.
Vinny made the Pro Bowl in 1996, which was the first season in Ravens history. Hembo lived. Meanwhile, we'll get to the Ravens in a minute, but the big story that we begin with this morning is the latest drama surrounding Antonio Brown. Ben Roethlisberger recently saying that he regretted criticizing AB because it, quote, ruined a friendship. Well, Brown tweeted and then deleted a response in which he said, never friends, just had to get my ends. Shut up already. So that relationship continues to matter even as he goes to Oakland. And so I'm going to put 90 seconds on the clock, and I want to just get to the bottom of this thing here. Does John Gruden need to just sit Antonio Brown and say, you know what? The time for that is over. It's time to get to football and nothing else.
John's had that conversation with him already and said, hey, man, let's just play football. Don't worry about it. But that's who he is. You can't change the person's personality because everybody's saying do it. You have to let AB be AB. It's a honeymoon period right now for John Gruden and AB, okay? Game 4. Go through 4 games. If AB's not flourishing and doing his job, that's when you're going to have a meltdown and a breakdown from AB.
AB won't listen to him if Gruden does it. This is a guy who named himself Mr. Big Chest, but absolutely he needs to do that because once you start letting players get away with certain things, then another guy thinks he can, and I understand AB's a different animal, but once you allow the standard to be dropped for one guy, then a lot of younger guys think, as long as I'm great.
Everybody's different, man.
Well, there's some
like
teams.
Jimmy Johnson say, if he's sleeping in the meeting, I'm cutting him.
But there's
Troy
still a
Aikman sleeping, not a problem.
But there's still a standard.
Here's the thing. I think that conversation, like he said, has already happened.
For sure.
And I think he's probably going to have it to continue to happen, and he's not going to do anything. And so that erodes the credibility sometimes of your head coach, or you keep telling your star player, we need to cut this out, and he never does.
Is it destined to end badly? Will this thing end badly?
Oh, yes.
No, it won't end badly because I think John's smart enough to know from a learning experience with a certain receiver that you have to do things different now than you did a while ago. He's learned that. He's been around it.
That receiver is sitting at this desk right now.
No.
It isn't me. All right, next, move on to our next topic here. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is known for running the ball. During training camp, the young quarterback has been working on throwing, and apparently he's improved because he recently said he'll be throwing the ball a lot more this season. He told Mad Dog Sports Radio, probably throwing 30 passes a game. Running, I probably won't have as many attempts as last year. We have a great backfield, and we're just going to take what the defense gives us and take advantage of it and just go from there. So I'll put 90 seconds on the clock. Do you like the idea of Lamar Jackson throwing 30 passes a game, Bobby?
Do I like it? Am I a Ravens fan? No. If I'm not, if I'm a D coordinator, I absolutely love this idea. They brought in Paul Johnson, the former Georgia Tech head coach who specializes in the triple option this year to help craft their offense. That doesn't sound like an offense that's trying to throw it. And if you look back to college, we're talking about college where the windows are much bigger. He threw the football over 30 times a handful of games. They were below 500 in those games. He's not meant to do that unless he improves dramatically, which I have not seen this preseason so far.
Let me run with that. So I did some research. He's thrown the ball 30 times or more in his college and NFL career. He's never done it in the NFL 10 times. In those games, 50% completion percentage was the average. That is a recipe for not winning games and disasters. What he did so good last year was be himself. He's a great run-around athletic quarterback that makes enough throws. Continue to do that. Don't change who you are. You're going to take the greatest thing you do is run around, do that less, and then the thing that you don't do as well, do that more.
What do you think?
That doesn't make sense to me.
What are the throws, though? Is it screens? Is it bubbles? Is it slip screens? What are the throws? I'm sure it's not 30 down the field big throws. I'm okay with it. I really am. I think he has to grow at the position. You're not going to win in this league long-term and have long-term success turning around and handing the football off to the running back every single play. So he's got to learn how to throw the football.
One game last year, got close to 30, 29 against the Chargers in the playoffs. Through 3 quarters was absolutely atrocious. Played well against the prevent defense in the fourth.
That was a game in which they were well behind for much of it. Okay, one more topic. We're 8 days away from NFL kickoff, and fans across the country are drafting their fantasy teams all around us. And don't forget, you can still sign up to play at ESPN.com. So if I want to put the question this way, because I'm sure a lot of people out there, if you're fortunate enough to be in this position, you might have the first pick in your fantasy draft. So I'm going to get from each of you, if you're playing fantasy and you have the first pick in your fantasy draft, who are you taking first? Dan, I'll start with you.
I'm going with the Frenchman, Saquon Barkley. He's the best player on a bad team. He's going to get the ball a ton. Golden Tate's not going to play the first 4 games of the year. This guy's going to get 25, 30 touches a game any way possible. He is a budding dominant star in the NFL. I'll take Saquon.
What do you think, Keyshawn?
I'm going with Christian McCaffrey, C-Mac. I think when you look at his game overall, it's something that just is marvelous. He could get on the perimeter. He could do some things. He caught 107 balls last year. He played 91% of the snaps for the Carolina Panthers. There's not another running back in the NFL like him. I mean, he's special. He blocks. He's not coming out. And he doesn't have to share the load much this year.
Yeah, those are, I think, consensus top 2 picks in most people's fantasy leagues. You have a different idea?
Speaking of not sharing the load, Alvin Kamara. And to me, he's a guy that can do it all. Through the first 4 games last year, when Mark Ingram wasn't there, he had the most points per game of any fantasy player. Once Ingram came back, he lost 6 touches a game. That's not going to happen this year. He is the man. He will have more points than anybody, and they don't have an offense where they can just isolate and try to stop him like Saquon Barkley. Or you look out at Carolina, they're relying upon their quarterback. They have Drew Brees. They're getting him the ball on the ground, in the air. He's number 1.
Just out of curiosity, what made you decide to Frenchify Saquon Barkley's name? It's just a curious decision.
He's French. I talked to him about it.
But see the hair? He got a French.
I understand that. I just thought it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
To
It
me.
just sounded cool.
I guess it did, but I mean, we could do that for a lot of different reasons, and I'm just not sure why we did.
Orlovsky, you
If
can't.
you do have the first pick in your draft, we wish you good luck. Meanwhile, while we're creeping up on the pro football season, we are practically there with the college football season. The first full weekend is right around the corner, and there are so many big questions coming into this season. Will anybody challenge Bama or Clemson for the title? Who will be the last 4 college football teams standing and making it all the way to the college football national playoff? For answers to those and other questions, here he is once again, our friend Paul Feinbaum. Paul, we did not get to ask you yesterday, and we had planned it, and a bunch of other things happened, so here we go. Give me the 4 teams you have making it to the playoff this year.
Automatic. Alabama and Clemson. Clemson on top, Alabama second. And then I'm really high on Georgia, 2 from the SEC, but I think they both can get in. The 4th one, going to Ann Arbor. I believe in Jim Harbaugh for some reason. I've been critical of him, but I think with Shea Patterson at quarterback, some experience, maybe Ryan Day in, Urban Meyer out, they finally get it done.
All right, let me go back to Michigan here because this fascinates me. I said to you yesterday, if not now, when for Michigan? He's had plenty of time there to build his culture, to put all of his recruits in place, everyone who is there, and he's never been able to climb that hurdle of Ohio State. Ohio State feels as vulnerable as they could. They lose the quarterback. They lose the legendary coach. You think this will be the year Michigan gets it done?
Yeah, I do. And by the way, even if they don't, Greeny, Jim Harbaugh is still better than anyone they've had in a generation. So that's why Michigan fans are behind him. He has not lived up to what we thought. We thought he would compete for national championships every year. This year, I think he will.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, however, you're suggesting you do not think that the patience will wear that thin that quickly in Ann Arbor.
It depends. I mean, if he's double-digit wins and loses a big game late, he won't get run off. But, I mean, if he has a disastrous season, that's a different story.
Well, I mean, does this mean a different assessment of goals there? You know, you look at different programs, all right? And you with Alabama, and you're as close to Saban as you can possibly be, and you've been down there forever. You remember better than anybody. Before he got there, Alabama wasn't Alabama for 2 decades, essentially.
No.
Between the time they won the championship under Stallings and then when Nick gets there. So these things rise and fall with the coaches being in place.
I'm not saying that they'll settle for 9-3. But Jim Harbaugh is different. He's a very good coach. He just hasn't gotten over that hump. I think without Urban, it's going to be much easier for him.
And then let me ask you quickly, because everyone will look and say, well, you are the mouth of the South in the SEC network, and you're putting the 2 SEC teams in there. Why does that happen in your mind this year?
Because I think they will both run the table, meet in the SEC championship game, and losing to the 2 or 3 team in the country should not disqualify you. Last year, Georgia had that early loss. This year, a bad loss to LSU. This year, they won't have that.
All right, and so you think they will both run the table in the SEC with the schedules they have?
And I frankly think the top three are in a different category. Georgia's not far from where Alabama and Clemson is right now.
All right, and then there's Ohio State, there's Oklahoma, there's Michigan, and we'll see the rest. College football Saturday night on ABC. You will see Heisman hopeful Justin Herbert leading number 11 Oregon against number 16 Auburn. This is a huge game with all kinds of implications for the players and the teams. You'll see it Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern on ABC, and you can watch it live on the ESPN app. Coming up on Get Up, Ezekiel Elliott remains a big question mark 11 days before his team's opener. How will his absence impact Dallas in the race for the East? The prediction is next.